Okay, I'm not going to say, are we live? No, okay.
No, we're live. You just said it. You just said the thing. You're not supposed to say the thing.
Just said it. Hey, everybody. Welcome. Good evening. It is Thursday night here in Big Ten country. We're going to talk about this coming weekend's games. We've got, I don't know, some not so spectacular games coming up because we are still in the non-conference period. And in fact, no Big Ten teams are playing each other this week like they were last week. Let me double check here. No, they're not. We've got all non-conference games this week. Although that doesn't mean there won't be some big decisions going on. This is Team Rivalry. I am Cliff, the dog Team Rivalry data analyst with grit. Next to me is
JJ for Heisman.
And why not?
I mean, yeah. Why not?
The boy can throw
3 touchdowns. He can.
He can.
Well,
He's good at
even. Yeah.
Well, yes.
Yes.
Exactly. This is Team Rivalry where we're not always professional, but we do have fun.
Never.
Trash
Sometimes.
talk is expert level. Analysis, not so much. Mediocre
Not so much.
at best. We strive for mediocrity and often fail, but that's
Yes.
okay because it's still fun and you're watching us and it's free. It's a good deal.
Our
Late
mother
kick doesn't
said
come
that they
on for a
really
while.
like it.
Good. Fair enough. That'll work. As long as mom likes it. Your mom. Your mom. No. Sorry. That is a Gen
Stick to the
Xer
script,
making a
man.
millennial joke. Sorry. Sticking to my lane. By the way,
In your lane.
we put out a video today covering the press conferences, and all we had to do was cut together clips from the coaches. And it's hilarious because coaches, they often say the same things, and they often don't know why they're saying it from the looks of it.
I wonder if James Franklin thinks that I need a haircut.
He might. You're not wearing
Might.
a hat, though, so he
Yeah.
can't compliment you
not.
on your hat.
No, he can't.
Also, if you
He
need a
can't.
math teacher, James Franklin, because they lost 5 plays and the other team lost 5 plays. So together it was 10 plays they lost.
That makes 10. That makes 10
Yeah.
plays. Yeah.
You figured that out without even looking at his fingers. So
That's crazy.
it's not too bad.
I needed a amicabus. What's the thing?
Abacus?
Abacus.
Abacus?
I needed an abacus to do that kind of math.
Yeah.
And now I guess I need a dictionary.
Yeah.
So
I felt especially bad for Greg Schiano watching those press conferences because, man, he does not look like he is cognizant of his location.
he does not look like someone who wants to be on camera at
No.
all.
No. Yeah, that was hard to watch. Of course, then there was the one reporter who forgot what the question they were going to ask. And did you All right, let's talk some football.
All right.
Although it is fun making fun of coaches, making fun of millionaires, I think should be everybody's hobby, right along with making fun of politicians. Politicians
Yes.
and millionaires deserve our ridicule, always.
I heard that actually I saw a story. So Donald Trump, DeSantis, what's his first name?
Ron?
Ron. Wow. Ron DeSantis, Ronald and Donald are going to be at the game.
I never put that together. If only one of them was Scottish.
Right.
Ronald and McDonald.
They're going to be at the game along with Vivek Ramaswamy and then somebody else. I can't remember who.
Everybody's
And,
going to the Iowa game. This is what we
everybody's-
call
Yes.
pandering.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought that's where you stood on the side of the road with, a jar and you
That's
asked people to give you money.
panhandling.
Panhandling. Okay.
Yes.
So what is it called when you have food and you put it on a pan then? Because I
Cooking.
thought that was panhandling. That's just cooking.
That's just cooking.
That's cooking. Okay. So here's the thing. I found out all of these politicians are going to be at the game. Everybody's freaking out. These politicians are going to be at the game. There's like going to be so much security and it's going to be like a mind-boggling mess and all that. And I'm just over here like, okay, but like Is Iowa's offense going to be at the game? Are they going to show up? I don't know.
You never can tell. They don't always show up.
I don't know. Apparently Brian Ferentz had to average. I guess we're just on Iowa now, so that's fine.
All right.
If you want to shuffle
my cards for Iowa,
yeah. If you want to shuffle the deck around a little bit, sorry about that.
That's all right.
I guess Brian Ferentz needs to average 25 points a game to not get fired, and this is apparently a very real scenario. Like,
I heard about that. Yeah.
I thought it was a joke. I think it's real though.
I think it is too. Yeah, I read it. Oh no, I'm not going to remember where I read it. It might have been on Twitter, so I didn't verify it because Brian Ferentz probably should have been fired anyway.
Yeah, well,
they dropped out of the AP this week. What were they last week?
Yep.
25. So they dropped out this week.
Although
they say they have an improved offense with McNamara.
I mean,
there's our Scottish right there.
Okay. So I guess they do have an improved offense with McNamara. They scored 3 touchdowns, I think, right?
24 points.
Yeah. I heard somewhere, and again, I didn't verify it because I quite frankly don't care, but I think it was on Bigger 10 with Steve Dace and Aaron McIntyre.
Yep.
Aaron was saying that Iowa scored a touchdown on their first drive of the game for the first time since 1990.
Oh, wow.
He said it, and he said it like it wasn't a joke. So I'd be inclined to believe him, but that's what?
They've never been a big offense team. I mean, like I say, my introduction to Iowa back in the 80s was that game against Michigan, where I think it was like Michigan won, I think 9-6. I don't think anybody scored a touchdown in that game.
Well, and then
I might be remembering that wrong. It might have been a little bit more than that, but it was a low scoring game.
Yeah. Well, and we were at the 2019 game where it was 10-6, 10-3.
The 2019 game?
Yeah, Michigan. I think all of the points were scored in like the first quarter, and then nobody did anything again the rest of the game. There was like 5 turnovers. Because I think 3-10. Yeah, so I think Shea Patterson threw like 2 or 3 interceptions, and then Michigan's defense also got 2 or 3 interceptions or something like that. And so everybody was just like, which defense is going to score first? I guess I don't know.
Yeah,
but. So there's that. But in any case, he apparently needs to average 25 points a game to not get fired. And in game 1, they only put up 24, and that's arguably their easiest opponent. So, yeah.
That was against Utah State. Okay, so it's Iowa State this weekend, the Cy-Hawk series, which I got to be honest, and I'm really sorry, I feel dumb. I just recently realized that Cy-Hawk was Cyclones Hawkeyes. I thought somebody's name was Cy, and it was the Cy-Hawk series, as if Iowa State would also be a team with the word hawk in it. I'm very sorry, everybody.
Yeah, no.
I didn't know. I apologize.
It's in the chat.
Iowa State's a good team. They deserve more than that. For me, that's what I'm saying. So it's the Cy-Hawk series, which, aside from Iowa State being a good team, the series sits at 50-19 Iowa.
Wow.
Matt Campbell is the current coach. He's in his 8th year. He is 47-42 up against Kirk Ferentz in his 25th year at 187-115.
Matt Campbell is 47-42?
Yes.
Why was his name ever thrown around for the Michigan job?
I don't know.
Do you remember that, though?
I do not.
All right. Well,
I remember Les Miles and
no, this was like 2020.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, when
Harbaugh, that's probably why I don't remember it, because I didn't take any of that seriously.
Well, and nobody should have, but for a little bit there, it was after the 2020 season. It was, is Harbaugh going to be there? Is he not? And who's going to take the job? And a bunch of people said Matt Campbell should be in the running.
Okay,
but I mean, Iowa State doesn't really do much.
Right.
So I don't know.
My crack research team tells me that they lost a lot of impact players at Iowa State, but they have a stronger defense than Utah State. So they could. Iowa scored 24 points last weekend, so they could hold them to fewer points this time.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
And this game is at Iowa State too.
Yes. And as an in-state rivalry, it's I mean, I know it's 50-19, but it seems like Iowa State gives Iowa some trouble regularly.
I mean, yeah, they gave them trouble last year too. I can't remember what the score of that game was, but like that was when Iowa was on their trip of every week the defense scored more points than the offense.
Right.
So I think that's what I think there was like a safety and then a safety and a defensive touchdown.
Yeah, well, here you go. Okay,
game.
so last year it was 10-7 Iowa State. Iowa State won last year?
They did?
Uh-oh. I think I might have some data wrong here.
Well, hang on. Let's 2022 Iowa Hawkeye football. Let's just verify this in real time.
Oh yeah.
2022 football schedule. Yeah, 10-7 Iowa State. Okay.
10-7. Okay. The year before that, you've got 27-17 Iowa. The year before that, 18-17. Year before that, 13-3, 44-41. You really only get out of hand until you going back to 2016, where it was 42-3. So for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games, it's been a one-score game. I mean, 13-3 is a score and a half, but
well, yeah. Huh.
But,
okay. I'm just curious what happened those 2 games where it was over 40 points. Like, did they just not care anymore? And
well, in 2016, it looks like Iowa was ranked 16 when they played Iowa State. So they were on an upswing. But yeah, okay, even before that, I mean, okay, so that's basically an outlier because then before that, you've got 31-17 and then 20-17, 27-21, 9-6. And that was Iowa State in 2012. They won 9-6. So they're typically a very tight game.
Iowa State won that 9-6?
Yeah.
Okay. I think what did I just wrote down my predictions for this game and now I want to change them, I think.
I've got mine at 17-6 Iowa. I still think Iowa's going to win.
Okay. Yeah, I think Iowa State's going to win.
Yeah. I
do. Yeah. So the reason being, I think that McNamara and Eric All are obviously upgrades to the Iowa offense, and that's fine. But they're 2 players. And that's great. But you played Utah State last week, and you managed 24 points. And I think there was only 1 score in the second half or something like that. Iowa State, I mean, I don't think that they're slated to really do a whole lot this year, but they're at home, so why not?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and they beat Northern Illinois? They already beat Northern Iowa 30-9. And that's, I mean, I get it's Northern Iowa, but you're going up against another team that doesn't really have that great of an offense, although it's probably better than Northern Iowa, but still.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got Iowa State winning this game. So, and I'm going to keep that too. Iowa State's going to win, and it's going to be 15-12.
Ooh. All right. That'll be a tight one.
Yes, it will.
I'm still taking Iowa on that one.
All right, hard segue to the next one so that we can chop this up and post on YouTube later.
Let's jump to the top. Number 2, Michigan versus UNLV Rebels. This is their second meeting, and we've got, I believe, Jay Harbaugh is going to be the interim coach for the first half. Mike Hart's going to be the interim coach for the second half. Mike Hart, of course, is our Michigan man coming back home, or has come back home. He's been there for a couple of years now, but he played for Michigan back in 2004-07. He has coached, I did not realize this, or maybe I did and I just forgot. But anyway, he's coached at EMU, Eastern Michigan, Western Michigan, Syracuse, your old favorite, and Indiana.
What?
What?
Why?
Syracuse. It's the only college football stadium with a
With a dome?
Dome. I was going to say canopy. What is that thing? The ceiling?
Canopy?
They put a big tent over the field. The Syracuse Orange.
I could not possibly give less of a crap about the Syracuse Orange. I don't know,
Sure.
but whatever.
So UNLV is actually an FBS team. For some reason, I thought they were FCS, but they're FBS. Yeah. Barry Odom is the coach over there. It's his first year. Last week they played Bryant. He won 44-14. Obviously, last week, obvious to us, Michigan played East Carolina last week, 30-3. What are you seeing in this game? I just right off the top, I think JJ is going to be more confident. I think the team is more confident. And as we learned in the press conference video, there's a lot of confidence change from week 1 to week 2.
Yes, that is a thing that we learned in that video, isn't it? See, our trash talk videos are also educational, and that's just fantastic.
We didn't even have to write the jokes for that one.
We honestly shouldn't. It's called working smarter, not harder.
That's right.
That's what we got to do. All right. So here's the deal. For the preseason and probably ever. All right. This is just good advice. You got to hang on to it. This is what all of the self-help people say to do. Never, ever, 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 ever bet the over on a Michigan game. Just don't do that. Save yourself some money and don't do that. Okay. Because last week, Michigan was favored by 50 something.
Mm-hmm.
They were favored by 50 something, and the over under was like in the 60s. I thought something stupid like that.
I don't know if it was that high. I'm pretty sure it was at least in the 40s. I don't know if it was high as the over under might have been in the 50s, but I think Michigan was favored by
34,
30 something. Yeah.
30, I think 34, but whatever. Yeah. Anyway, point being, what happened? Not that. So, yeah.
Because Michigan doesn't run up the score. They just don't. Or I guess Harbaugh doesn't. I mean, I think you can go back to, I don't know that Hoke did either. Obviously, Rich Rod didn't get the chance. Lloyd Carr never really ran up the score. Bo did a couple of times and got in trouble for it.
Those were against Ohio State, though, weren't they?
Right, yeah.
So
Illinois.
Oh, okay. Well, yes.
But Michigan's not a run up the score kind of team. In fact, I've heard people complain about that when they get the chance, they ought to keep playing hard, but they tend to settle in a little bit. I presume to save the players.
So
I mean, if you're already up, by 2 or 3 scores, why risk those guys?
I mean, there's a right way to do that and there's a wrong way to do that. What they did against ECU, that's fine. You can do that. And I don't really care. But they also kind of did that against Michigan State in 2021, and Michigan State had like a 16-point comeback in the fourth quarter and ended up winning, if you remember. So, yeah, there's a right and a wrong way to do that.
Yeah.
But
well, in 21, I mean, that was wait a minute. No, I'm sorry. I was thinking 2020. Never mind. Keep going.
Oh. Well, in any case, I guess, yeah. So I guess this game, obviously Michigan's going to win, but I think it's probably going to be by a little bit more, because UNLV. So the problem with Eastern Carolina was that Eastern Carolina thought all off season long that they were just going to stack the box against Michigan and make JJ McCarthy throw the ball to beat them. And JJ last season was touch and go with the long ball and the passing and stuff like that. And so they thought maybe they could do it, and that's fine. They saw TCU stack the box, and TCU won, albeit by 1 score, but still they won. So that's what ECU did, was stack the box. There was 8 players coming in, rushing the quarterback every single play. So Michigan has a very negligible run game at that point. But JJ McCarthy got a lot better through the air and threw almost 300 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. So UNLV now has to make a decision here. They have to say to themselves, all right, do they want to take away the run and make JJ beat him through the air again, which he very well can do, or do they want to try and play a little bit more balanced, because Michigan has a balanced offense, the most balanced offense, I think, under the Harbaugh era yet. So what does UNLV want to do? It's kind of I think Steve Dace even said it's kind of like a pick your poison type thing. Do you want to stop the run or do you want to stop the pass? Because you're not going to stop both. What can you keep up with?
Right.
So I think UNLV can't really keep up with either. And so I think Michigan's going to win a far bigger blowout this game than they did the last one. Plus, EZU is actually not that bad a team. I've kind of found out some things about them. They're actually not that bad. So
we don't want to get caught up in that, because if you remember that year that CMU beat Michigan State, and all the Michigan State fans were like, well, CMU turns out they're a really good team. Yeah.
I get it, but CMU also had Antonio Brown on that team.
Yeah.
I was watching those highlights recently, and I didn't realize that Antonio Brown played for Central, but he did, and it was that team that beat State. So
all right.
I kind of get it.
Fine.
I kind of get it.
So the line for this game is Michigan by 37.5. The over-under is 57. I'm going with 42-3 Michigan.
Okay.
I think they're going to hit them a little bit harder this week than they did last week, because I think they're more confident this week.
I'm trying to find my call. Did I not call this game?
I'm sure you did. Although, you know what would be interesting? You know, people are picking on him for that whole free Harbaugh thing where they did the 4.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't realize that's what they were doing. You know, we're at the game and they all lined up like that on the field. And I'm like, this is fun. What's happening? Only found out later that it was the free Harbaugh thing. So they took some flack for that. And now I wonder if they're going to use that to run up the score. Or, well, I guess it doesn't matter.
I don't know why anyone had a problem with that. I thought it was funny. And well, okay, not necessarily funny. I mean, maybe it is funny because they're kind of like in a certain way giving the bird to anyone who would really care about it. Yeah. But like at the same time, they're also trying to show their coach that they miss him.
Right.
What's the problem?
Yeah.
But yeah, so now everybody's saying that Michigan's just the victims of the West or something like that. Like hail to the victims. They're just playing the victim. They had like a catchy saying that goes on, which was kind of catchy. It was kind of clever, but I don't understand how that's victim. If Harbaugh actually lied, that's fine. That sucks. But I mean, the NCAA clearly can't get its crap together, and the only reason he's suspended is because Michigan's own athletic director suspended him as some sort of like moral high ground play.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, the players from either point of view don't think it's fair, and they just want their coach back. So why not?
Right. I suppose. I mean, I'd have to look into it more. I haven't looked into these allegations or the violations much at all, but from what it sounds like, it's essentially what would amount to victimless crimes.
Yeah.
It's not like anybody got hurt or abused in any way. He didn't cheat. He didn't anything like that. It was really just he did things he wasn't supposed to do according to the rules to keep everything, fair. Okay. Mm-hmm. But still, it seems like a lot of hullabaloo for nothing.
But the cheeseburger thing specifically.
Well, yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
I shouldn't be telling his athletes to eat cheeseburgers. So what did you find your prediction? What do you got for Michigan?
No, but I made it. So it's going to be 42-6 Michigan.
Oh, nice. Well, I got 42-3, so
I think that means they'll cover. Oh, no, it doesn't. Yeah, whatever. Michigan never covers.
Yeah, it does. They only have to win by 37 or 38.
37.5. So 42 minus 6 is 30. 36.
Oh, you have 32?
Yeah.
Oh, I have 42. I have 42.
But
so 42 minus 6 is 36. Oh, and they have to win by 37.5. So no, they won't cover.
Right. That's yes.
Okay.
That's what I've been trying to stammer out for the last 20 seconds.
We got there.
Yeah, you got there. Yes.
I should have gotten there sooner.
Next game.
Next game on my card is number 5 Ohio State at the ever indomitable and ultimately conquering Youngstown State. Woo!
Go the Fighting Jim Trestles.
Where I should have looked this up. Where is Youngstown State?
In Youngstown, Ohio.
Youngstown, Ohio. All right. I wasn't sure if that was an East Coast team or not.
Right? Youngstown State's in Youngstown,
I think
Ohio.
I'd know
isn't
more
it?
about this stuff, but I don't.
Well, who cares about Youngstown?
This is only their third meeting. Ohio State is 2-0 in the series. Youngstown State Penguins is their mascot.
Hey,
The Penguins.
all right.
They are an FCS team, so Ohio State should roll them mercilessly. Doug
Yeah.
Phillips is in his fourth year. He's 11-17. So sorry, Penguins, but you're going to be on the endangered species list after this weekend. Ryan Day's in his fifth year. He is 46-6.
Fire him.
Just beat Indiana 23-3. Although, okay, all right. So I have two things I want to say. Every time I watch a Ryan Day press conference, he always looks worried. The man doesn't smile. He doesn't inflect in any way most of the time. He just always looks worried. And yet he's one of the winningest coaches in the Big Ten. Actually, probably is the winningest coach in the Big Ten right now.
Well, he's lost to Michigan twice in a row.
What?
He's lost to Michigan twice in a row.
Well, sure. That's 2 of the 6.
It's the only game they care about. It's the only game any of us care about.
So the only thing I heard is that there's the possibility that McCord might not be the starter.
Yeah.
All right. So you heard that too?
I heard that Devin Brown played against Indiana, and when the game still mattered, like it wasn't garbage time. I think it was the second quarter actually, and he didn't do very well. And Ryan Day still has yet to name an actual starter.
Okay. So he didn't do very well. McCord must have done better, and he's not sure if McCord's going to be the starter.
That's correct.
Yikes.
McCord, so
that all by itself, the fact that if there really is a question about it, that is unheard of from Ohio State in, I got to believe, the last 30 years.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know when they've gone into a season without a starting quarterback in my lifetime.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's just been automatic. It's not been a question. In fact, the only time it's been a question is what, back in, I don't remember what year it was, but when their first stringer went out, and it turns out their second stringer was just as good, and then he got injured, and then their third stringer was just as good.
Yeah. Oh shoot, was that the JT Barrett and then Dwayne Haskins and then Cardale Jones year?
Yes, that's it.
Okay.
I think that was stacked that year.
I think that was the 3. If I remember correctly, because Dwayne Haskins started one year as well. JT Barrett was like a starter for a few years, but I think Dwayne Haskins started one year as well. I think he only started literally 1 year and then went pro. God rest his soul. And then, he passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That was, last year sometime. I figured you didn't know. That was why you chuckled.
All right.
Yeah, he got hit by a truck on the highway, unfortunately.
So no, I do remember that. Yeah, I did hear about that. Okay.
So yeah. Yeah, but I'm trying to remember that that season. Yeah, I think that was there was a season, there was a Michigan game, and I can't remember, maybe 2017, where JT Barrett was starting and then got injured, and then Dwayne Haskins came in and just lit up Michigan secondary like nothing even changed.
Yep.
And then there was one year where Cardale Jones ended up coming in too and doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is kind of the first year in like a decade that Ohio State has gone into the season without a solid starter and then a like depth at quarterback.
Yeah. It was embarrassing that year too, as a Michigan fan, if you remember, because we're like, who was the starter? That was Barrett?
Which year?
The year we were just talking about with the three.
Oh, I think it was 2017.
2017. It
But
was,
I really
Barrett
can't
was the
remember.
starter. But when he got injured, this is what I'm saying is embarrassing as a Michigan fan, because when he got injured, we were like, oh, hey, maybe Michigan has a chance now.
Not even.
Not even. Those were
Yeah.
bad years for Michigan.
Well, it was just 2017 was bad. 2016 was fine.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But as far as this weekend, I mean, I've got the prediction at 45-3, and that's only because Ohio State was not in regular form last weekend. I think if they show up in traditional form as they have been the last few years, I think that score is going to go up into the 60s. But I've got them now as 45-3.
Yeah. I mean, I think no matter how you look at it, this is going to be a name your score kind of thing for Ohio State. Because even if all they did was run the ball, like they're going to score a whole lot of points. So yeah, I mean, I've got Ohio State winning 52-10. I don't think that this game is going to do them any favors for seeing what they've got in terms of what they can go up against with more difficult play. But I think this is literally just a confidence builder.
Yeah.
Which is fine. You know, you can have those. Michigan's got one too this week.
Sure.
Yeah.
Before we jump to Penn State, you want to talk about that news story with Tez Walker? Yeah, let's jump over to that. Let's talk about the news story.
All right. So kind of a new thing that we're doing for the live stream. Sorry, that was a poorly timed sip of water, but whatever. So I saw this story a little bit earlier and I thought it was ridiculous. And so I saw it. It was written up somewhere else. I can't remember. I'll share my screen real quick because I can even present it. Maybe. There we go. So North Carolina wide receiver Tez Walker denied appeal. He is ineligible for 2023. Now, why is this a big deal? So, two-time transfer student. I couldn't tell you why he transferred from the first school he went to. In fact, I don't even really know where he went. I guess he went to North Carolina Central and then Kent State. So I'm thinking he transferred from North Carolina Central to Kent State. Not really sure why, but he wanted to transfer from Kent State back to North Carolina, University of North Carolina specifically, to be closer to family because he was the primary caregiver of his grandmother while he was in high school. And so he was sad being so far away in Ohio. Like, yeah, most of us are sad when we're in Ohio, so I get it. But he was specifically sad because his grandma, she's old. He wants to come home and take care of her. Well, the NCAA, 3 days after he transferred to North Carolina, announced that they were going to start cracking down on waivers for two-time transfers. Not really sure why. I don't know what the benefit would be, but sure, fine. They're going to do that. Well, because of that, Tez Walker gets denied eligibility to play football. So he's still in North Carolina. He's still able to see his grandmother, take care of her and stuff like that, but he's not going to be allowed to play football. And this is a guy who got eligibility, or what was it? He transferred, I think, during the pandemic year. I can't remember. But he transferred, I think, during the pandemic year and got an extra year of eligibility because of that. So he should have been fine to play this year, but the NCAA said no. And this is kind of one of those. So the NCAA said that if a two-time transfer wants to be eligible, they're going to have to demonstrate like a mental health or safety need to transfer. Mm-hmm. And that's already pretty subjective and stupid. But I can't think of a better reason to move back home than you've got a sick family member or even just an old family member and you take care of them. So that seems pretty reasonable to me. But according to the NCAA, that doesn't cut it as far as a mental health reason goes. So they denied him. So he's not eligible to play this year. And I'm not sure if he'll be eligible next year either. This might have been it for him. Don't quote me on that because I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, so for an organization that claims to support the players and do stuff for player safety and mental health, not this time, apparently.
Yeah, it seems like the NCAA is failing these kids time after time.
Yeah. His previous 2 schools filed waivers in support of him playing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not even at their school. Like, they even wrote the NCAA and said, yeah, he should be allowed to play. And the NCAA
Where was it he
was
transferred to?
North Carolina, Tar Heels.
Okay, from NC Central and Kent State over to North Carolina. All right.
Yeah.
So North Carolina was ready to play him.
Yeah.
Man.
I mean, how crummy is that? I mean, not only that, but you're like waiting to find out into the season whether or not you can play. So you're coming into the football season not even knowing if you're going to be allowed to play. And then literally the day before a couple of days before week 2 starts, you're told that you can't play. That's ridiculous.
So 2 things. Do you know, is there an appeals process?
I think that was the appeals process.
That was the appeals process. All right. And does he lose that year of eligibility, or can he be redshirted?
I don't think he can be redshirted because I think he's already played.
Okay.
Like at Kent State and North Carolina Central.
Okay. It would have to be a medical red shirt then to be a red shirt.
Yeah. Oh, he's even been seeing a counselor. So he has mental health issues and absolutely should have qualified for this.
Yeah. Probably not the mental health issues that the NCAA is looking for.
Well, I mean, honestly, I feel like him coming home to take care of his grandma should have been enough of a reason.
Should have been.
Like, have a heart.
Yeah. Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah, so Walker grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina, and served as the primary caregiver for his grandmother when he was in high school. So this is a kid that's already kind of been through it and moved away to go play football and then got homesick and wanted to come back and probably has to take care of his grandma again. I'm not sure what's going on with that.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, this should have been a pretty, what's the phrase, cut and dry case here.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Bubba Cunningham is pretty upset.
Yeah. Yeah, UNC is all up in arms about it. It's really ridiculous, but anyway.
Well, we'll have to keep on that, see if there's any updates to it in the next couple of weeks. I guess if they can't change it in the next couple of weeks, there's probably not a lot of point to it.
Yeah. I don't know.
Although, like you said, if that was already the appeals process, then I guess it's over.
Yep. So that's the name of the story. So he was denied appeal. So he's just, he's done for this year.
Okay.
Yeah. What a thing. How dumb is that?
Yeah. So if that's, he should still have his senior year. Am I reading that right then? So he's played at NC Central and Kent State. So this would have been his 3rd year. So I think his 4th year. So he ought to be able to play next year at least.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So he is a junior this year.
As long as he stays in shape.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure he's practicing with the team.
Yeah.
I think you can do that even if you can't play.
If he can. I think if he's ineligible, he can't even. I think they're not even supposed to be there, but I'm not sure. So don't quote me on that because I'm not sure. But I think that's part of the rules because they would have to put somebody in his place.
Yeah.
And then they're only allowed to have so many players on the team. But
yeah, I don't know. But I mean, and at least he theoretically should be able to play next year.
Right.
But anyway, so yeah, that's that story. We'll keep following it.
Yep. Well, our next game then is Delaware at number 7 Penn State. Our old friend Kirk Franklin. I did it again. James Franklin. This, by the way, it's a first meeting. This is the first game between Delaware and Penn State ever.
Woo!
Delaware is coached by Ryan Carty. It's his second year over there, and he is 9-5. They're coming off a win against Stony Brook, where they won 37-13.
Oh, really?
Delaware is an FCS team, so this ought to again just be an extended practice for Penn State. Although you don't want to fall into the trap game. Don't want to get App Stated. Drew Alar. Is it Drew Alar or LR? Drew Alar?
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. All right.
Nobody knows.
Well, Drew A., the quarterback over there at Penn State, was named the Big Ten Player of the Week this week for his quarterbacking skills over there. Let's see. Penn State beat West Virginia last week, 38-15. And this was a weird stat, though, but this was in the press conference that Penn State is 7-0 versus FCS teams since 2000. So they actually haven't played that many FCS teams.
Yeah. All right.
Which is good or bad, depending on whether you think those teams should get some exposure or not. And again, I don't know that there's too much to say about this game, except that it's one of those that if Penn State loses, they're in serious trouble, but I don't think they would lose it. But
no.
What are you seeing over there?
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to lose. So, all right. I'm just going to hop back on the ECU bandwagon here for a second.
All right.
Eastern Carolina is a higher ranked team than West Virginia. Just going to let that hang in the air for a second. So when we're looking at Drew Alar throwing for, and he played Drew, when we're looking at our boy Drew here, and he's got some seriously good stats, and he probably deserved Big Ten Player of the Week props and stuff like that. That's great. Good job. Yeah. 325 yards, 3 touchdowns. Solid work. He went up against a not very good defense, and a defense that is technically worse than Eastern Carolina's. And you might be wondering, why do I keep bringing up Eastern Carolina? It's because I'm comparing the two to make sure that Michigan beats Penn State. No. Yes. But that's all to say. West Virginia is a weak team, and they're probably going to be weak, or they're probably not going to do well the rest of the season. Delaware is also a very weak team compared to Penn State. Penn State's probably got a lot of good talent. That's great. But we really don't know what this team can do. And obviously that's the point of the preseason or non-conference games, however you want to call that. But we still don't really know what this team is capable of. So yeah, they're going to blow Delaware out, and it's not going to be pretty for Delaware. It's probably going to be very sad, probably lots of tears, maybe some blowing of the noses. But
welcome to Happy Valley. You lose.
Get out of here. You suck. But yeah. So I don't have a ton to say except that they're gonna blow Delaware out. We're not gonna learn a whole lot about Penn State. They're gonna look phenomenal, but anyone would against this weak opponent.
Yeah.
Well, not anyone, but most D1 teams would.
So I amended my prediction while you were talking because I realized that James Franklin does like to I don't know if it's so much run up the score, but he doesn't let up really. So but I changed it. I've got 42-7 Penn State.
Okay.
I think not West Virginia. I think Delaware is going to get a touchdown in garbage time right at the end. I think they're going to slip through.
Okay. So I've got Penn State 56-3. I think that Penn State's defense is going to hold Delaware in check. I don't think Delaware is really going to have the steam to do much. And yeah, that's all I got.
That's all you got. All right.
That's all I got.
Okay, we're starting to get into a pick and choose situation here. Do you want to talk about Illinois, Wisconsin, or Nebraska?
Let's do the Wisconsin and Nebraska games, and I don't really care about any of the rest.
All right. I don't have a ton on the Wisconsin game, but it is the fourth meeting between Wisconsin and Washington State. Wisconsin is leading the series 2-1. Obviously, Luke Fickell, first year, he is 1-0 after a reasonable win against Buffalo, 38-17. Jake Dickert is in his second year over at Washington State. He is 11-9, just coming off a win against Colorado State, 50-24.
Whew.
So Luke Fickell, first year coach, he's doing the best out of the 3 first year coaches because he actually won his game. Both Ryan Walters and Matt Rule lost. So he's got that going for him. I don't imagine Wisconsin has any trouble with Washington State. I think, again, this is just we're still in that Big Ten non-conference beatdown territory. And that's really all I have to say about that. I don't think there's even a chance that he's going to get rolled by Washington State or upset or anything. I think this one's pretty much a lock. Uh-oh. What do you got?
You do understand the game is at Washington State, right?
I know, but they've got Wisconsin by 6 with an over-under of 58.
So here's the thing.
All right. Let me have it.
This kid deserves to have his first name heard real quick. So let me just open this up. Cameron Ward. Cameron Ward is the quarterback for Washington State. Cameron Ward threw 451 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Holy mackerel.
Against Colorado State last week. And they only beat them 50-24. Cameron Ward also ran for 40 yards and a touchdown. And their leading wide receiver is a guy whose last name is Victor because they're victorious.
Nice.
And he had 11 receptions for 168 yards. Now, what does this tell you about Washington State? It tells you that they are fully embracing the memory of Mike Leach, God rest his soul as well. A lot of sadness on the episode today. Sorry. They're fully embracing the memory of Meach. Wow. Mike Leach and throwing the ball around. They're doing some air raid stuff at Washington State. So they're a fast moving offense, and you're going to kind of need to be because of the new clock rules. Wisconsin allowed 17 points against Buffalo, who by all accounts should have a far weaker offense than Washington State. Furthermore, Tanner Mordecai is the quarterback at Wisconsin, and he threw 2 interceptions against Buffalo.
Yeah.
Are you starting to rethink your call here?
I'm gonna go down swinging. I'm gonna stick with it.
All right.
Oh, wait a minute.
So Wisconsin allowed almost 200 yards passing through the air against Buffalo as well. Washington State put up 460 yards passing. So the way I see it is Washington State is just going to toss the ball anywhere and everywhere, which means that this game is probably going to turn into a track meet.
Okay, wait a minute. You're talking about Washington State. Okay, so Washington State beat Colorado State last week 50-24. Michigan beat them last year 51-7.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so then I think I'm sticking with my call.
I mean, all that says
I don't think Colorado State was a good game.
Okay. It probably wasn't, but I'm looking at the offense more than I am their defense.
All right.
I mean, Wisconsin, the guy, Tanner Mordecai, threw 2 interceptions. So he's beating himself against a MAC team.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, that's true.
So I'm more concerned about whether or not, if I were a Wisconsin fan, I'm more concerned about whether or not they're going to be able to move the ball consistently than I am about whether or not they'll be better than Washington State's defense. I think Wisconsin's offense is going to get the better of Washington State's defense, which means that this game's probably going to be kind of high scoring. But if Tanner Mordecai throws an interception, then all of a sudden Washington State is up by 2 scores late in the game. What do you do?
So, okay, yeah, Washington State has the ability to capitalize on Wisconsin's mistakes.
Yes.
Will Wisconsin make mistakes, I guess, is the question. I'm looking at it too, that, they worked out some bugs last week. So this week they should be more confident. So, yeah, maybe, I might pull it down and say 42-14. But since I already wrote down 49-7, I will stick with that and take my lumps.
That's honorable. That is very honorable of you. So here's the deal. I'm going to keep my winner, but actually, as I was saying that, I'm gonna up this a little bit. I've got Washington State 42-31.
Ooh. All right.
Because that's exactly what I think is going to happen. Wisconsin's going to make a mistake. Washington State's going to be able to capitalize, and they're going to go up 2 scores late in the game, and Wisconsin's going to probably get one back at some point, but then Washington State's going to score again, and it's going to be over.
All right.
That's what I got.
All right. We will find out this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
When do they play? They're a
7:30
night game,
kick.
7:30. All right.
Yeah.
All right. I want to jump to, what time is it? 50. Okay. So I want to jump over to the Illinois game. Actually,
you want to talk about Illinois?
Yeah.
All right.
Only because I think Illinois is going to win the West. Now, if Wisconsin picks up the way I just said they might, they're going to give Illinois some trouble. But I think Brett Bielema is building, and I think he's going to build fast. So you've got this week sixth meeting between Illinois and Kansas. Kansas is a real team.
Yeah.
The series is 3-2 Illinois. Bielema's in his 3rd year. He's 14-12, which I'm kind of surprised at. But they beat Toledo last week. So last weekend we talked about that. They had a tough time with Toledo, but they still won. So that's good. You've got Lance Leopold over at Kansas. What?
Leipold.
Yes. Leopold. All right. So in his 3rd season, he is 9-17. Well, they did beat Missouri State last week, 48-17. I think this is going to be similar to last weekend versus Toledo, but I think that Illinois is going to come out the winner, even if only by a field goal. Because I still think Illinois is going to win the West. For the last time ever.
Because they'll never get to the Big Ten championship game ever again.
No, because they're getting rid of divisions.
And because they'll never sniff the game ever again.
Fine.
They'll never get
Be
close
a
to
pessimist. Be a jerk. Whatever. I don't care.
You've got USC, UCLA, Washington, and Oregon coming to the Big Ten. Do you really think Illinois?
But
all right, anyway.
The vital component you're missing here is that Colonel Blake in MASH wore an Illinois shirt at the war in Korea on TV.
Oh, man.
In the show.
In the show. All right, so
fictional character at a fictional camp at not a real war. It was fictionalized, but anyway, that logic broke down really fast. Sorry.
Korea happened, didn't it?
It was a joke. Well, yeah, but it was fictionalized for the show.
Oh, well, yeah, sure.
That was good. It wasn't the real war. They weren't doing the show at the war.
At the war. Here's the war, good background,
All right, what do you got? Why don't you like Illinois? What's your problem?
I like Illinois. This is going to be a close game. They're going to win it. I've got Illinois winning 28-24. They're not going to win the West. Sorry.
They're going to win the West. I've got them 31-28.
You know what? Actually, I just said that.
And they've got Kansas by 3 on the odds.
Yeah.
But I think Illinois is going to prevail, 31-28.
Okay, so I just realized something. I just said that Illinois is not going to win the West, but if Wisconsin loses this week, and I already think Illinois is not going to win the West, who wins the West?
Oh, not Minnesota, I hope.
I think
I
they'd
don't
be
know.
the only other ones.
Yeah, they might be
'Cause
the only ones.
Iowa
Well,
with that offense isn't going to do anything.
right.
Maybe.
Well, real quick here, I just want to say we've got some more first game alerts. Did we cover one already? Was one of these a first game alert?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Delaware, Penn State.
Delaware, Penn State. Yeah.
We have a couple more. Michigan State plays Richmond this weekend for the first time ever. Minnesota plays our old favorites, EMU, this weekend for the first time ever. Northwestern plays UTEP this weekend for the first time ever. So right off the top, I'm going to say Minnesota wins, Michigan State wins, and UTEP wins. I don't care what the scores are going to be, because Minnesota playing EMU, they can basically score whatever they want. We all know in Michigan that EMU is basically why were they let into the MAC conference? Because they're there, I guess. They
came close one year, I think.
Yeah, close. Michigan State's going to beat Richmond because I've never heard of Richmond doing anything. And I mean, even though I don't like Michigan State, they still win games. Northwestern is in a horrible downward spiral, and UTEP is a good team, so I think UTEP walks away with that win, and Northwestern goes 0-2. So those are my quick predictions there.
All right, quick prediction. Then I got one quick thing about UTEP. What was the first game?
Minnesota EMU.
Minnesota 52-6.
Ooh, I have 56-0.
Nice. All right.
Michigan State Richmond.
Michigan State 49-6.
Ooh, I have 35-3.
Wow. All right.
UTEP versus Northwestern. I didn't even write a score down for that because it doesn't matter.
UTEP 21-10. Now
21-10.
Yes. Now here's the fun fact. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
UTEP lost to Jacksonville State in week 0 this year, obviously. And Jacksonville State used to be an FCS team. This is their first year in the FBS, and their first game in the FBS was against UTEP, and they beat them. So UTEP is 0-1 against a former FCS team, and I still think they're going to beat Northwestern. Here's fun fact number 2 for you. Jacksonville State's head coach, you want to take a guess who it is?
Brady Hoke.
Close. Rich Rodriguez.
Rich Rod. Oh, that was the other guy. I was going to say, it's one of those two.
Yeah.
No way. So Rich Rod is coaching Jacksonville State.
Yep. And got him to the FBS, apparently.
I mean, he's a good coach.
He's a good coach. Yeah.
I got shafted at Michigan, but he's a good coach. Okay. Now I've got... Let's chat about Nebraska versus Colorado on our last couple minutes here. Coach Prime over there is 1-0, having beaten TCU 45-42. Yeah. Just as a reminder, TCU is the runner-up for the national champions last year.
Runner-up.
They don't get to be second place because they lost. I don't remember what they dropped to, but they're the runner-up.
Yes.
Matt Rule is in his first year at Nebraska, and we know that when he was at Baylor and Temple, his first years were not good, but he built them up to be championship teams. So this one is a real, I don't know. Did I look up the odds on this? They've got Colorado by 3 with an over-under of 59. It's bizarre for a couple of different reasons. One, Nebraska is historically a fantastic team. They didn't do so well under Scott Frost. That was Scott Frost.
Yeah, Scott Frost. Yeah.
Colorado is not, but Deion Sanders there has just all of a sudden built them up. They had 87 new players through the transfer portal.
Holy crap, really?
Yeah, I mean, apparently most of the team left, and he
Yep.
got 87 players in the transfer portal. It's not an exaggeration. It's 87 players.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah, I heard that they had something like 75 players transfer out,
yeah, they
and
couldn't
that
handle that first meeting.
there were only like 3 scholarship players left by the time the transfer exodus was over.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
something
right.
like that.
So Colorado is ranked now. They're number 22. Nebraska obviously is not ranked after their loss to Minnesota. Um, I've decided to be hopeful, and I'm calling Nebraska 27-21. But I want to watch this game because I feel like Matt Rule. I Man, I don't even know how to say it. It's just Matt Rule is a good coach, and he's got solid players there at Nebraska. It should have been. I mean, it was a tight game against Minnesota, but I feel like he should have beaten Minnesota. So coming up against Colorado, it's going to be a tough situation unless it's a beginner's luck thing for Deion Sanders, and they just happened to win last week against TCU. But if Matt
I
Rule
mean,
goes 0-2, I think he's not in trouble. I mean, I'm sure they'll give him the rest of the season.
oh
But
yeah.
I don't know. It's shaping up to be interesting. I guess it's not quite there yet, but it's shaping up to be interesting to see if Matt Rule can beat Deion Sanders. If he can't, he's got some serious work to do once he hits the Big Ten.
It's a program measurement or a program directional game. Like
Yeah.
whoever wins this game, their program is going to be on the upward swing.
Right.
So I guess the question for me for this game is, was Minnesota's offense kind of bad or was Nebraska's defense really good? And I think what you saw in the Minnesota-Nebraska game was a little bit of both. Now, like Kaliak Manis had an interception. Everybody's allowed at least one, I think. You know, that's not a big deal. That's fine.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of other issues happening too. Like Kaliak Manis threw the ball 44 times. Now, most of that is because Minnesota couldn't establish a running game against Nebraska, and that's something to be said for Nebraska's front D line. So maybe Nebraska's D line's actually pretty good. Kaliak Manis also missed on 20 of his passes. So maybe he's also not as good as we thought he could be, or Minnesota's offense isn't as good as we thought they could be. And that means Nebraska's defense really didn't need to be that good. And now they're going up against a team this week in Colorado whose starting quarterback set records, and like a lot of them.
Yeah.
510 yards passing and 4 touchdowns. What? So
and yet the score of that game was the score of that game was 45-42. They only won by a field goal.
Right. So they also don't have a very good defense, but maybe TCU's actually got a pretty solid offense. But TCU also had basically roster depletion after the national championship run last year.
Right.
So what's left on TCU's roster that's, you know, really all that good? I think they're kind of in rebuilding mode. But they still should have beaten Colorado. The fact that Colorado won this game, I think, speaks more to TCU's downfall, or at least regression, than it does Colorado's progression. But also, Colorado also put up 45 points, and the quarterback is also clearly very good, which means that they have every chance to destroy Nebraska's defense. Unless Nebraska's defense is actually really good. Which is all of this is to say that I have no idea what to make of this game.
I know. That's the bizarre thing about it. It's one of those, you almost want to watch it just out of morbid curiosity.
Yeah.
I mean, I really don't care which team wins. I mean, obviously I like to see a Big Ten team win,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just one of those weird uh, crossroads of a game
Yeah.
with
It's
two first year coaches, one of them who has never coached before, and one of them who is a championship level coach and is 0
which
and
one?
1. And the coach Deion Sanders, who's never coached before, has he coached anywhere before?
Yeah. He was
Where?
at Jacksonville. Not the
Oh,
Jaguars. Hang on. He
okay. I
was
thought this was his first
at
year.
No, he was a head coach at Jacksonville. I believe it's called Jacksonville. Hold up. Career history as a coach. Uh oh. Uh he was actually the head coach of Prime Prep Academy in Texas. So I'm wondering if that's where he got Coach Prime.
Okay.
So there's that. But yeah, Jackson State. Okay, so he was the head coach at Jackson State. So we were just talking about Jacksonville State.
Okay. So when they
not
were an
that
FCS
school.
team.
No, that's the thing, is that Rich Rod is now coaching Jacksonville State. Deion Sanders was coaching Jackson State,
Gotcha.
not the
They
Ville.
just run out of names in Florida, or what happened?
Apparently. That or else there's a whole lot of people named Jackson.
There's also Jacksonburg, Jacksonton, Jackson Hollow, Jackson by the seashore, Jackson by the Gulf. There's just any number of names you can have for Florida teams.
There's a lot of Jacksons down south, aren't there? Because I think there's a Jackson, Georgia. There's Jackson, Mississippi.
Yep.
Isn't there a Jackson, Alabama? Whatever. Anyway, but yeah,
Probably.
so he's
Andrew Jackson was a favored president down there.
Oh, okay.
So what did you say? What was your prediction for the Nebraska-Colorado game?
Oh, I didn't even give my score yet.
I had 27-21 Nebraska. I'm hoping.
Wow. Okay, that's low scoring.
Yeah.
I think Colorado's offense is probably going to do pretty well in this game. And I think that Colorado's defense is also not that great. So I have Nebraska kind of hanging around for a bit, but I think Colorado gets in a couple of, let's call them lightning strike touchdowns and just kind of catches Nebraska off kilter. So I've got Colorado 42-28.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. That's what I got.
Cool. The last handful of games, I don't really have scores for. I think the most serious one, you've got Maryland at Charlotte. Maryland had an excellent win over Towson. I guess a lot of Charlotte players transferred over to Maryland too. So,
oh really?
So there's that.
Uh-oh.
That's actually. Oh no, I do have some predictions for some of these here. So, Maryland, Charlotte. You've got Biff Poggi, who I guess is a friend of Mike Loxley's. Also, Biff Poggi coached Mike Loxley's son in high school.
Isn't it Biff Poggi?
What did I say?
Poggi.
Is it Poggi? Maybe it is Poggi.
I think it's
Biff
Poggi.
Biff. I've got 42-3 Maryland because they've got the odds makers have Maryland by 24 and the over-under at 51.
Wow. Okay.
But I think that one's essentially going to be a Big Ten beatdown. Indiana State. Oh, did you want to give a prediction for Maryland, Charlotte?
Yeah. I've got Maryland 41-7. So yeah, I think Big Ten beatdown, but Charlotte scores in garbage time.
All right. Purdue versus Virginia Tech. I don't even have any notes for that, but I do have a prediction of 24-21 Purdue. So this will be Ryan Walters' second game at Purdue. Who did they play? I'm sorry. Who did they play last week?
Fresno State.
Oh, yeah. Well,
and they lost.
Well, I'm hoping Ryan Walters gets a win out of this one at 24-21. So,
Yeah.
like I
So
said,
I've
we've got
got.
a soft spot in our hearts for Purdue, and I kind of like Ryan Walters. So,
Seems like a nice guy.
yeah, he does.
So I've got Virginia Tech 35-17.
Ooh,
Yeah.
right.
So no
That's
offense,
fine.
Purdue. That's fine.
Temple versus Rutgers. Do you know Greg Schiano is in his 15th year, not consecutive though. He left for a while and they had to bring him back. He is 81-89, which explains his demeanor at the press conference.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, they should have beat us last year, but we happened to win.
I sold
Okay,
my
Greg.
soul to this school. When are we going to be good?
They beat Northwestern last weekend 24-7. But let's face it, Northwestern has beaten themselves. Stan Drayton over there at Temple is 4-9. I think Rutgers will win, but I forgot to write down a score for it.
Oh. Well, I've got Rutgers winning 24-14, but I kind of regret that. I feel like it should have been more. But for right now, I've got 24-14.
I'll make sure I come up with something before the game. It's 7:30 kickoff. Is that a Saturday game?
Yeah, I think so.
Whoops, I got the wrong week up here. Yeah, that's a Saturday game. Last one, Indiana versus Indiana State. Indiana coming off a loss to Ohio State, 23-3. Over there at Indiana State, they are also coming off a loss to Eastern Illinois, 27-0.
Ooh.
But this is an in-state rivalry.
Is it?
I guess. I think all in-state games are in-state rivalries just for, local regions. I mean, I get it. Like, Michigan or Michigan State plays EMU. It's not really a rivalry, but still, it's a local rivalry.
Wait, what were the teams you just threw out?
When Michigan or Michigan State plays EMU.
Oh, plays EMU. Okay. I thought you
Yeah.
just said when Michigan and Michigan State play, it's just for local fun. Like, it's not really a rivalry. And I was like,
Right. Well,
no,
and
I'm
I
pretty
think
sure that's one of our biggest rivalries.
I think that's the thing. Like with Michigan, I think is one of the few states where we have our two main teams, Michigan and Michigan State, are premier teams.
Yeah.
Then you go down to Indiana, and it's Notre Dame and Purdue.
Yeah.
Well, you got Notre Dame, Purdue, and Indiana, but Notre Dame obviously is the top team of those three. I guess it's a toss-up as to whether or not Indiana or Purdue is number two.
Depends on the year, yeah.
Yeah. But Indiana State, then you're back to I'm trying to think, is there any other state that has like there's like California State? That's not a thing. I don't know if Washington and Washington State is.
Yeah, Washington State, that's a rivalry. That's a big rivalry. Oregon State, USC, UCLA.
Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma
It's
State.
a decent one, I think.
Texas and Texas A&M. Texas and Oklahoma, actually.
Yeah. Well, sure. Like any in-state team is going to be a rival then, but like it's not Texas State, it's Texas A&M.
I think Texas State might actually be a rivalry too, but they never play.
Right. Well, sure.
Maybe.
So Indiana State, I mean, they're not Big Ten caliber. Obviously, this is what I think is weird though, is that Indiana and Indiana State don't play very often. Indiana leads the series 6-0. So they never play either.
Yeah.
So I think Tom Allen calls it an in-state rivalry just for, to be a nice guy.
Yeah, they're a tough team. Give them a lot of credit.
Did you hear that? They're giving us a lot of credit.
Giving us credit.
Props to Brian Regan.
Well, what's your call then?
Oh, I didn't write one down. It doesn't really
Well-
matter.
Well, what I wrote down was Indiana State 35-6, but what I meant was Indiana
Indiana.
35-6. So I'm just gonna change that around.
Yeah, I've got a couple of games here that I gotta come up with my predictions.
Yeah.
I swear it's funny. You know, you prep for a show. I wanted to have things to talk about. I put all my notes on the cards here, and then I'm like, oh no, I forgot to put down predictions. So
We'll
I'm
get
hurrying
there.
up to write them down.
We'll get there, or we just don't care, and that's fine too because it's more fun.
Well, for everybody out there who might be watching, or maybe will watch tomorrow, you are watching somewhere. Somebody somewhere is watching this. I hope. Watch a bunch of our other videos because our stats went down.
We're not desperate.
please
Yes, we
watch
are.
our videos. Anyway, you know, the whole reason we do this is to have fun. We like to enjoy football. We're not trying to I don't know. We're just trying to have fun watching football, talking about football. We don't get into the serious, deep, really bizarre stats that some people come up with that I don't know. I don't think end up having any bearing on the game anyway. I think it really comes down to the coaches primarily. Because I think you can take a good coach like D'Antonio at Michigan State was taking 3-star players and making them into a championship team. And then you've got guys like Ryan Day and Harbaugh who can take 4 and 5 stars and make them into championship level teams. And then you get guys like Kirk Ferentz who take 4 stars and turn them into mediocre players.
It's all Brian's fault.
No offense to Kirk Ferentz. He's a great coach. He's been there for 25 years, but I don't know. Iowa just doesn't seem to ever jump to the next step. Anyway, we just like to have fun. We do some trash talk. We talk football. We enjoy it. And I hope your team wins this weekend. And that's all I have to say. Mac, what do you have to say?
I hope your team wins too, unless it's UNLV. Then, maybe next week.
Maybe next week.
That's what I've got to say.
Have fun watching football. Mac, take us out.
This is Team Rivalry. All right, now how do you end this thing?